I got a couple lists for you here as we wrap up this hour. The TV ratings are in for the Iowa-Ohio State women's game. I'm convinced now we cannot have a normal conversation about Caitlin Clark.
No.
Iowa and Nebraska fans, especially, because I somehow got, tagged on a conversation about Caitlin Clark and her being a flopper. And so the Iowa response to this Nebraska fan was a gif of Sue stepping on the quarterback when he was with the Lions.
What?
Yeah, I was like, we can't have a normal conversation.
So it's flopping versus perceived dirty player.
Somehow Jim Boeheim is going to fight Jay Williams over his comments about Caitlin Clark, and Caitlin Clark is conquering racism. You can't. The most likable and unlikable player. She's not creating this, but you can't have a normal conversation about Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe that's just, we can't have a normal conversation in this country.
No, we can't.
3.4 million viewers. Wow. Higher than both TNT NBA opening night games, and then higher than Wemby's NBA debut on ESPN.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I'm going to give you another list. Maybe we can argue over this. So Stuart Mandel and Bruce Feldman at The Athletic put out their top 25 coaches in college football this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Jimmy, this will make you very, very happy.
Not much does, so hit me.
Both Feldman and Mandel have Lance Leipold in the top 5.
Oh,
so
that makes me happy.
So this is Bruce Feldman's top 5. Kirby Smart, Dabo, Lance Leipold, Kalen DeBoer, Ryan Day. Bruce Feldman's top 5, Kirby Smart, Lance Leipold, Kellen DeBoer, Mike Norvell, Kyle Whittingham. He also has Brian Kelly 6, Dabo Sweeney 7. One has Matt Rule in the top 15.
Whoa.
The other doesn't have him in his top 25. Feldman has Matt Rule. Actually, he wasn't 15 last year. He has Matt Rule number 18 on his list of college football coaches.
Okay.
Stuart Mandel does not have Matt Rule and does not even have him as just missed.
Ooh,
but Feldman has Matt Rule
Nebraska
as 18. If you just look at Rule's record, there's no way he's a top 20 coach. His record is 52-50.
Mm-hmm.
Hasn't beaten a ranked team since he was at Temple. So he's 0 for his last 14, I believe, against ranked teams.
Yeah.
Johan Howard thinks that's not too bad, though.
But the trend will keep Rule in these lists before he starts to stack years at Nebraska. Is at Temple, you go from 2-10, 3 years later to 10. Baylor 1-11 to 2 years later, you go to 11.
Yeah, there's the belief that
he'll be in that list.
And that's what I've noticed even this last offseason, where it could be really easy for this is again for the national media lens. It'd be really easy for people to say Matt Rule can't get Nebraska out of its funk, another 5-7 season. You know, what else is new? Where people would kind of grow tired of that. I think there's still that intrigue with Matt Rule for what you said right there, but that belief that not only does he give you a year 2 jump in 2 different places, but he's at the place that has more resources available to make sure that that is going to be the case. So if Matt Rule could have that year 2 jump at those previous places, now in a place that has more resources in the Big Ten as well, that should be even more excited about what Matt Rule could finally accomplish as a head coach as we start talking about getting those top 10 victories, getting those top 25 victories. So I'm not saying it will happen. I'm just saying I think that's more of the belief compared to anybody else who didn't have that track record.
These are, and they're up on The Athletic this morning. These are 2 pretty good lists because, first of all, I like Mandel's because any list that has Kyle Whittingham in the top 5, I'm all a believer in.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kyle Whittingham is a great college football coach. And even with his quirks, Brian Kelly's a really good coach as well. I like how they both approached it because they weren't like tied into, okay, this is where they're at and this is what they've done. They've looked at where they're at and what they've done, even at a place like Kansas.
Yeah.
There is a list, 2 respected guys in college football put together a top 25 college football coaches list this morning. And Lance Leipold is in the top 3 in both of them.
Yeah, that says a lot.
Man.
Kellen DeBoer, who, I mean, everywhere he's been, he's won. Sioux Falls, Fresno State, Washington. He's got a win at Alabama. He's never had that kind of a stage. They've got him in the top 5.
Yeah.
That's it. They're really good lists, but Rule is at 18 on Feldman's list. Mandel hates Nebraska, so Rule is not there.
I believe he said that when we talked to him. Said he didn't like him at all.
He said, I would like to talk about the guy over in Iowa City or the guy in Ames. I don't like your guy that's in Lincoln.
There was speaking of lists, there was this one that came over last week. Now, these are fan sites, so I want you to take that with a grain of salt, but it's funny. You get 2 very reputable writers, national writers, when it comes to watching college football and where they put Lance Leipold. This thing came over my Twitter feed. I looked at it. I feel dumber for doing it, but it was the Buffs Wire Big 12. I don't know if this was CU Josh who put this one together, but it was the power rankings for the Big 12 coaches. I would agree. They've got Dave Aranda there towards the bottom. This is where it gets really funny, though.
Poor Dave.
Where do you think that they have Lance Leipold compared to Deion Sanders?
Deion's 1, 2, and 3. Lance is 27.
They have Lance Leipold at 8, and they've got Deion at 4.
Good. They'll learn.
That's what I just said. What am I reading here? It took like 5 minutes of my day at Buffswire. I'm like, okay, yeah, you know what? You just lost me there by putting Lance Leipold at 8 and Deion at 4. Yeah, we're done here.
November 23rd at Arrowhead.
Yeah.
Josh.
They got Mike Gundy at number 1, in case you wanted to know.
Ryan Day is 5th in one. He's 8th in the other. You can see that up on The Athletic if you are a subscriber. You can see Brian Christopherson in all his glory. He's coming up